Hi, I'm Scott and I make games. The focus of today's stream is going to be selecting some of our tech. We're going to well, not really dig in, but we're going to dig in and try and decide between two main engines or editors that I want to use. I've got a little bit of experience with both. I have preferences. There's a lot of pros and cons with both. And I haven't made a choice yet. So on stream today, we're going to list out some pros and cons and choose a game engine to create our project in. The goal by the end of this stream, which I've got 2.5 hours, give or take, set aside for, the goal of this stream is to, by the end of it, have created our game project and maybe started work on some prototype stuff. And then on the weekend, we're planning to actually dig into it a little bit and get started making a game. So first and foremost, at the start of every stream, I want to spend a few minutes going through this idea pad, just familiarizing myself with it, familiarizing you guys with it, to just really help set up what we're actually making. So this should only take a couple of minutes, but the idea pad here is literally just a dumping ground. So anytime, even in the middle of the night, I've added to this in the middle of the night. Anytime I have a random thought that is related to this, I just drop it straight in the idea pad, and later on I'll break that down and I'll sift stuff out, and maybe I'll delete some bits, and maybe I'll add a paragraph of text to some of it, or whatever, and then a little bit further down the line, usually I'll clear this out every few weeks and sort that stuff out into a wiki type configuration or a monolithic game design doc, just depending on how I'm feeling at the time. So the short of it is, we're looking to make a game and release it with a short development cycle. We're looking at 3 to 6 months to release. Now, I've said every time, we can expand that out to as long as it takes. If it takes 12 months, so be it. If it takes 2 years, well, I'd really rather not have it take 2 years. I'm going to focus on keeping the scope down so that we can release this game as soon as possible. But it's more important that it gets finished than that it gets finished in 6 months. But that's the target. We really are trying to make that happen. I'd like to think that 3 to 6 months. 6 months might be achievable, but I feel like that's probably setting an unrealistic goal. But I work best when I'm trying to reach unrealistic goals. So we'll aim for 6 months, and if it takes 12, then so be it. If it takes longer than 12, I'll be very disappointed. The game we're making is similar to The Lost Vikings from the Super Nintendo in 1993, but our characters are pirates. But the general concept is the same. You've got 3 dudes, you only control one at a time. They all have totally different abilities and mobility, and the goal is to get all 3 of them from point A to point B in the level, but because they have different mobility, they all have to take different paths. The first one might open a door for the second one to go through, who might push a platform that allows the first one to go and do something that assists the third one. At the end of the day, your goal is to get all 3 guys from start to finish in the level. I want to have a good sense of humor in it, so where possible, we'll be trying to make things silly, trying to make things just that little bit more dumb funny, like lots of puns, lots of like fart jokes, kind of thing, like just making it, well, maybe not that dumb, but just making it a funny, lighthearted sort of game. So we've got 3 characters. They've all got different abilities. I did say that you only control one at a time. Each character has different abilities, different mobility. So, and to expand on that a little bit more, an example would be only one character can even jump. The other 2 may not be able to at all. One character can jump. I think further down this document, we sort of laid out that maybe one can inflate and sort of float around. So you'd have very limited control over that sort of mobility, but it is a form of mobility nevertheless. So you can have your character sort of strategically inflate and then float up in a direction and pop over a platform, deflate over a platform. Characters have limited health, so if a character dies, we really need a very quick level reset. At this point, I'd like to have like a dedicated button for that, to just reset the level quick smart. I don't want to have to open a menu, choose 3 options or 3 layers deep, and then wait for 2 loading screens. I really want to just push a button and have it start straight over. It's been years and years since I've played Super Meat Boy, but I believe that's what Super Meat Boy does, is there's just a button on the controller that you press it and you go straight back to the start of the level instantaneously. So I want something like that. At least that's how I remember that game. I don't actually know if it does that or not. But, yeah. So we haven't really talked about this in detail yet, but it's an idea I'd like to at least entertain. Intra-level checkpoints where okay, so your guy walks off a ledge and lands on some spikes and he's out of it. Well, if a level takes you 10 minutes to beat, are you going to start that entire level over, or are you going to reset at a checkpoint? And it just depends on how the game feels. So we might go either way with that one. I want it to be very accessible in that sense, so we probably will have checkpoints. But if checkpoints just make it feel too easy, like, well, it doesn't matter if you just hold the right key and hold the right button and have the guy just run straight off the edge a dozen times. Like I don't know, it just doesn't feel as good with checkpoints everywhere. So maybe there's a balance, maybe there's a halfway point in every level. We'll talk about it. So we're going to be side-scrolling, it's a platformer, we're using 3D assets, and I'm aiming for like a blocky art style in the same way that the showcase from the software Blockbench looks. So if you Google Blockbench, I can actually probably bring it up, I probably should. We go to Blockbench, and I have looked this up a few times on stream now. So all of these models are made out of boxes. They're all cuboids from top to bottom. It's like a cousin to voxel style art, but different. So this entire thing is made out of cuboids, rectangle, 3D rectangles. And they're all layered together and stuff like that. And they've all got low resolution textures. I believe this software is originally made specifically for exporting to Minecraft, but whether we use this software or whether we use Blender, I haven't decided yet. We'll definitely download this and give it a go. But I want this style nonetheless. I want these blocky but detailed models. I've made a bit of voxel a bit of voxel artwork in the past, and I think this, well, I haven't done this, I think this will be a very similar amount of effort to create. So at least that's what we're aiming for. We're going to try making stuff in this sort of style. We're aiming for short levels, so 10 to 15 minutes to complete. Every time I talk about this, I use a different amount of time, but all in all, the entire game should really be between 1 and 2 hours of gameplay. That's kind of what I'm aiming for. I'm not shooting for the moon. I want to keep it down in scope so that we can make it relatively quickly. That said, four separate worlds. For the first long while, we'll only really be concerning ourselves with one world, and it's probably going to be the Pirate Land, just because that is going to be the first world. Maybe we could prototype in a different one. At the end of the day, we're just going to be grey box for a while, for probably the first month. 4 levels per world, 4 worlds, so I'm aiming for 16 levels total. 10 to 15 minutes per level to beat, give or take. Each level should introduce a single concept and expand on it over the course of the level, and following levels should also expand on concepts from previous levels. That's something that Mario games do really well, and that's something that I want to really put a lot of effort into. characters would have 2 main abilities. We might even have 3. It depends on how we go with our abilities. One character will be able to hold and throw. We did discuss that and put it down further in the document. The characters at the moment, I've only got some stereotypes to work with. I haven't nailed this down, but I'm picturing if one character is 2 tiles tall, then the fat one would be a 2x2, and the skinny one would be 2 tall by 1 wide, and the small one would be a 1x1. At least that's roughly how I look at it. And these would be like caricatures of pirates, like peg legs, pirate hats, parrot, like real caricatures of pirates. So this list started out as just like a dump of ideas in the middle of the night, and on the stream the other day, I separated into ideas that I liked and disliked, and I added some notes to each one. We're not going to step through this right this minute again. That yesterday's stream is actually available on my YouTube channel if you would like to step through that at a later date. But we'll be revisiting this over time anyway, over the next days and weeks. But the short of it is, like, these are our gameplay elements, and then the structure is something that we made up while we were writing all these down, because there are some patterns that start to emerge, and I have made a lot of prototypes over the years, and these are pretty common patterns, but before I start the prototype, it's good to have just a rough structure, so I know, okay, well I know that I need to have a structure that accounts for this, and I need to have a structure that accounts for that, and maybe this sort of combined functionality and stuff. It saves me from doing things like, okay, today I'm going to build a cherry bomb, and I build a cherry bomb from the ground up and it works, and that's all great, and then tomorrow I say, okay, I'm going to build a crate, and I build a crate from the ground up and it works, and that's great. But if I lay this structure out in advance, well, then I know that I'm going to have at least 2 objects that I want to be able to pick up and throw, and take damage. And so at that point, I go, well, I need to plan ahead for that, and I'm going to create a central sort of a type. So I'm going to create a class for that, and then create those 2 subclasses. I don't think too far ahead on that stuff. I just think before I get started, what am I likely to need, but just for the prototyping phase, just to get it all quick and dirty, and then we can re-architect it later if we need to. So that's it. That's our document. That's our idea. So that took quite a bit longer than I expected. That took 12 minutes. I really wanted to get that done in about 5. So maybe we'll cut that bit down a bit next time. But I do want to have that sort of introduction at the start of each video. So we're just going to go down to the bottom of this, and right here we're just going to say technology. That would be a really cool username. Right, technology. So the first things first, we're going to go engine decision. So I haven't made this choice yet. I have 2 main engines / editors that I want to sort of toss up between and talk about, and really do a list of pros and cons for each, and make my decision after that. Now, these pros and cons are my own experiences with the engines. I don't like, you may disagree, and that's fine. I welcome any commentary on anything that you would disagree about, but I have used both of these quite a bit in the past, or not. I've prototyped a lot in both of these, and I haven't got a super strong preference in either way. So that's why this becomes an actual decision, because I can see lots of pros and cons with each. So we're going to toss up between Unreal and Godot. So I really like both of these engines. I don't think there's 4, there's not. Pros and cons, and I'm going to split that Can I split that in there? I can't. I can't go more than 2 unless I want to do the whole page. That's all right. We don't need more than 2. We'll just list them one above the other. Pros and cons. So there are quite a few factors that go into deciding which one to use, and I genuinely have not made up my mind yet, and I've been thinking about this for a few days. But my goal is to make this decision in the next half hour or hour, and stick with it. And I'm the kind of person that once I make a decision like this, I will probably regret it, and the grass will always be greener on the other side. That's part of the reason we're doing this project in the first place. The idea being that if we can make and release a game, regardless of what choices we make in here, then none of it really mattered. And that would go quite a way towards easing that sort of decision paralysis or anxiety around that sort of stuff. So the Unreal Engine, lots of polish. Skills would transfer into UE5 coming up, which sounds like it's going to be a bit of a game changer. I'd like to see what their next iteration of Blueprint is, for example. Which Blueprint, no coding. Look, I like coding. I've been coding for just under 20 years at this point. I can do it. I'm comfortable doing it. But I do it for a day job as well. So if I spend all day coding and then I come home and I fire up a stream and then I'm just suddenly coding again, but in a different language, and I've got this, it's just context switching like that is a nightmare. Even long form. Like, I know when people talk about context switching, they're normally talking about direct interruptions that last 10 minutes or whatever. But for me, if I work in TypeScript all day and then I come home and suddenly I'm working in C++, it does take a bit of reorganizing the brain, and that takes a good half hour at a time. So that said, I'm not afraid of C++, but Blueprint is definitely a big pro. I would be making this game mostly in Blueprint if I was using that. Road well traveled. Lots of games have been released with Unreal. Let's say UE4. Console and Switch, or console is Switch, but console/Switch development is a known process. Is a known. I had a better word for that when I started that sentence. Godot, pros. Fantastic 10 out of 10 workflow. GD script. I know I just said that programming is a bit of a negative after work, but GD script really is fantastic. I really like GD script a lot. Active development, which I know Unreal is also being actively developed by a larger corporation. Godot's not developed by a corporation at all, but nevertheless. Developed with a ton of resources. Good scene structure. I really love the nodes, the entire node system where everything in the world is a node, and they've all just got different subcomponents, different subnodes, and it's just nodes all the way down. I love that. I think that is fantastic. It's a very open and free way to structure an engine in that I can do things in a totally different way than the next person, and sure, one of them will technically perform better, but there's no way to directly compare them. That doesn't really matter, provided the performance for the end user is on point. So that said, I'm going to put pretty much that exact same thing as a con for Unreal Engine is their rigid scene structure. And obviously, yes, I know that all the usual OOP goodies apply, but I hate it. So what I mean is if you want something in the world, that something is going to be an actor, and if you want to attach something to that actor, you've got two choices. You can make it a child actor with a bunch of the functionality removed from it, or you can make it an actor component, which an actor component obviously is not an actor and can't just exist in the world. So, for example, say you've got a cherry bomb item, for example, that you would pluck out of a pocket and throw it. Now you can do that. You can do that in both engines, and if you're comfortable with both, you can probably do it in about the same amount of time. But I find, for me, Unreal Engine, I have to really think a lot harder about how to structure that. With Godot, I would make my cherry bomb node, my cherry bomb scene, and I would give it physics and all of that, and I'd give it two modes just in the code and say, all right, am I being held or am I rolling around? And it would function accordingly. Whereas with Unreal Engine, I have a lot of trouble even thinking of the appropriate structure for that. So I would picture that you've got some sort of inventory actor component that will spawn a cherry bomb actor or cherry bomb actor component that would be a subcomponent, like a child of the player character actor, that would then spawn that out into a real actor when you throw it. I'm not 100% sure how to do it. I'm sure I'm overcomplicating it, and I'm sure once you get used to the Unreal way of doing things, it's probably a lot easier to do. But in Unreal, the way that my prototypes tend to go is I push a button and the cherry bomb would just straight up appear and be already traveling at the velocity I want it to, like a projectile. I haven't leveled up in that sense with Unreal. Whereas with the Godot engine, I know exactly how I would implement that, and maybe that would lead towards a shorter development cycle, just because I am more comfortable with Godot. That said, so Unreal, I've probably spent the last 2 years prototyping with Unreal. And when I say prototyping, I do spend several hours every single day, whether it's a work day or a weekend, just playing around in game engines. I do it pretty much 7 days a week, pretty much all year round. I think the longest break I've ever actually taken in my whole life was about a month, and I took that in like 2017, something like that. Since I started doing it when I was about 12 or 13, I've just been a prototype factory. I must have made 1,000 prototypes in my life. And they usually last a month or two, and then I move on to another one. And there really is this pattern of having 3 or 4 different prototypes that you just sort of cycle between. So you start making a farming game, like a Harvest Moon game. That's my default, and then at some point I start making like a Wind Waker style game, like a Zelda game, and then at some point I put that down and I start making like a factory game, like Infini Factory sort of thing, or I'll put that down and I might start making a Lost Vikings type game. There really is only a few different prototypes, but I must have made each one 100 times. And I've used all of the engines that if you can name it, I've probably used it at this point for a year or so at a time. I never used Unigine. I've used Unreal and Godot, probably most of those. As my biggest engine. I did use Unity briefly for a year or two in around 2012, give or take. Before that, I spent most of my time making my own engines and stuff using C and C++, but before that, libgdx and Java. Not libgdx, LWJGL. I have used libgdx separately, and I used XNA for a few years. So I've just sort of been making prototypes. I have a lot of experience making prototypes. I do not have a lot of experience making polished released games, and that's what I'm trying to do here. So the cons with the Godot engine are worse, just scene rendering out of the box. Yes, we can fix this ourselves, but it takes work. Poor default shadow implementation. Not as actively. It is very actively developed. That's not the word I'm after. It's not developed with as many resources. Not as much funding. Less full-time workers, less full-time people working to make it better. That said, I think the quality of the engine developers are very high on Godot. I think they're doing a great job, and I think they're making great progress. The biggest con for Godot for me is to export to consoles. Certainly possible, has been done, not well documented, not very accessible. Pros over here, can export to anything. Exporting is a known quantity. Sign the agreement, push the button, effectively. Like, it is more complicated than that, but that's more or less it. Whereas with the Godot engine, there's just a lot more work involved. And you can get into a weird mentality there where you sort of bet against yourself. Because if you're looking at that pro and con specifically, then going with Godot is like betting that you're not going to finish the game in the first place because, well, we won't get up to that point, so we don't have to worry about it. Whereas with Unreal, you're really betting that that you are going to get there, and when you get there, you're not going to have a nightmare of basically breaking new ground to deal with. Whereas with the Godot way, sure, it has been done, but it's not just something that you can go and push a button and it's done. You know, like you've got to go and integrate the SDKs or find someone who's already done that for you and potentially pay them. I'm not sure if people charge for that or not. But certainly there's more work to it. Whereas Unreal just has that stuff built right in. It's like a 2-button export to PS5 and Switch. Look, I can see that these two lists are about the same length, and it really is lopsided in favor of Unreal. And it really is favored for Unreal, but the more I think about it, the less I want to actually make this in Unreal. I think that I would enjoy working with Godot, especially if I'm streaming it. I think I would enjoy working with Godot a bit more. Let's do up a quick... If I go to the Dunning-Kruger effect. So the idea here is basically that when you start out with a new thing, I actually don't know what context the Dunning-Kruger effect is built around, but if you start off doing a new thing, you will first go from like low confidence to high confidence straight away. Like you'll go from not knowing anything, going, oh, I don't know if I can do that, to just straight away going, oh yeah, no, this is really easy. I've done an hour of tutorials. I know how to do this. I don't see anything going wrong. And then you try to actually use those skills, and the more you use those skills, the more you realize what you don't know. And so at some point you hit the bottom of this peak here where you've got more confidence than when you started, because yeah, like it's becoming a known quantity, but you really don't know how to do a lot of stuff. But you sort of know what you don't know, if that makes sense. And so over time you start working and just sort of plugging away at it, and eventually you are confident and you know what you're doing, and typically this would take years. So if I copy that and paste it into, that's not what I wanted to do. If I copy that, nope, that's definitely not what I wanted to do. Neither is that. Copy image or drag it off. Can I do that? I can. All right, so if we're looking at this, so with Unreal, in Unreal Engine, I am probably, so I mean, I've been, can you see my cursor? You can't actually. So I'm going to draw in a big bright red texture right here. And I'm going to move it over here because I'm left-handed and I want to put my hand on the left side of my tablet. So with Unreal Engine, I am probably about here, give or take, after about 2 years. Oop. So if I say, and I say that is UE4 for me. With the Godot engine, I am probably about here. So that said, whichever one I picked and pushed all the way through to fruition, I would expect to get somewhere like here anyway. I just feel more comfortable with Godot, but I can't shake the feeling that Unreal is the better choice. And that's really what's giving me the decision paralysis. Because I know full well that in the long term, I'm going to have an easier time using Unreal in the long term, because Unreal just has those pathways forged, just all the way through. Like they've got all the libraries, they've got absolutely everything you could possibly want to make a good, successful game. Whereas Godot has a much, much, much nicer workflow, and I mean like so much nicer. I love the structure of Godot and I really, really want to use it, but I'm thinking about the end of the development process here, and I just don't see it coming together as well. With Godot, there's a lot of extra stuff that I'm going to have to plumb myself. And I'm sure that someone out there has a Steamworks library or something to that effect for Godot. Or I mean, you can probably just use C++ libraries in general, but without actually even knowing, I would almost put money on the fact that Unreal has like a two-click implementation for that. You know, where you just go, okay, plug in Steam library, you're done. Maybe enter a token or something, and then obviously program in the hooks. But you'd have to do that in either engine. So it's really a bigger decision than I would have thought. So coming into this stream, I was really kind of, my preference is to use Godot. As in, like, at first blush, oh, what do you feel like working in? The answer would have been Godot, straight away. But I really do think, like, the logical part of me, the logical part of me wants to use Unreal. I really think that Unreal will be the path of least resistance, even though I'm going to be fighting with the unrealness of it, if that makes sense. Yeah, okay. I think we're very, very quickly approaching a decision, and we're probably going the Unreal way. Especially, I think the blueprint is probably a pretty big plus in Unreal's favor. I know Godot has a visual scripting implementation, but it is just frankly not as good as Blueprint. If I was going Godot, it would be 100% GD script for me. I would not be using the visual scripting. Whereas with Unreal, I can do C++ when we need to, but the majority of this game, because it's such a simple game with such a small scope and no massive open world performance requirements or anything like that, we'll probably make the entire thing in Blueprint. Yeah, like I know Godot can run on everything. I know that I can export for the Switch, and I know that I can target the PS5 and all of that, but I just feel like it's a lot more work. And this is me. This is someone with no experience actually doing that part of a game project. Like I've never actually gotten all the way to release. But from the outside of both of these boxes looking in, I feel like Unreal's going to give me the least amount of trouble. So if you're watching this sometime in the future and you totally disagree with this, or if there's something that I'm really missing that you think I should have given more attention to, do mention it. I'll be going through this process again one day. But yeah, no, I used Godot. Like I ate and slept and breathed Godot for about 4 years. I don't remember exactly when they went open source, but I was there that very day, around 2014, give or take. And then I switched to Unreal in around late 2018. So 18 months, 2 years, something like that. I've been exclusively playing with Unreal, and I have found Unreal to be so much more difficult to learn. Like I feel like I'm fighting Unreal in a lot of ways because I like to structure things in a certain way, and Godot does allow me to do that, and Unreal really doesn't want me to. But that said, as I get used to the Unreal way of doing things, it's probably going to be a lot less bad. Again, with that Dunning-Kruger effect. At the moment, I really am down here. Like I've been to the peak of Mount Stupid, and I've been down to the bottom, and I feel like I'm just crawling out of that now with my skill set. I am by no means an expert in Unreal, and I don't think I would be by the time I release this game, but I would expect to have climbed this hill a little bit. Maybe not even that high. At this point, I just more or less know that I don't know a lot about Unreal. So I might even actually... Can I just copy that whole thing? Does that work? And then I might pop that just here for longevity. Oh, cool. Cool. I really like that. Wow, that is really cool feature. Sorry, I feel like I'm unreasonably impressed with that. That's... Like, why wouldn't you be able to do that? So at the end of the day, I think we'll go with Unreal. I think that is it. Yeah, okay. I already regret my decision. No, we've got to do it. Unreal is the one true way to do this. Yeah, and then we can use assets from the marketplace as well. Like I am planning on making all of my own stuff, but at the end of the day, if I can pay $20 or $40 or something for a pack of props and use them because they fit with the art style, then I will. Yeah, yeah. I'm not done with Godot. I will eventually use it. I just feel like this is not the time. Okay, so with that said, we've got like an hour or so, give or take, left, or an hour and a half, whatever I feel like. Let's go make our Unreal Engine project. Let's actually start that, get the ball rolling. That was a much more difficult decision than I had expected. Have I already installed an Unreal Engine since I reinstalled Windows? I will find out. I think I did. I did. Alright, so we are going to launch Unreal. Whoop. Stop it. We're going to make a new game project. We're going to... Okay, are we going to start with any of these? Side scroller, and that looks like a 3D side scroller. That looks like a good starting point. All right, we'll start it with Blueprint because I like how they start you off with all of the input stuff baked into Blueprint if you choose that, and then we can add C++ to it after the fact. This game will be primarily Blueprint, just because I spend all day coding at work. And we don't have massive performance requirements or anything like that. There's just something really satisfying about connecting all the wires together in Blueprint. Sure, we'll leave that. We'll leave starter content for now. Ray tracing, whatever, doesn't matter. And let's pop it into our code folder, Unreal, new. I don't want new, I think it'll create a new folder for me. Stop. Don't be a pain. Unreal, select folder. Cool, and we are going to create our folder, and this is going to be Pirates Adrift. So we follow my controller on. And we'll just straight up hit play and see what we're dealing with here. So, running and jumping makes sense for a platformer. No built-in wall jumping or anything like that, that's fine. Ramps, are there any ramps in here? There looks like there's a ramp up there. Okay, works fine. What about air control? That's actually probably the right amount of air control to... Alright, this is a good starting point. We'll start with this. So I was planning on starting to prototype some movement and stuff like that, but it looks like we've already got some usable stuff. So I haven't really thought of what we're going to make first. At the end of the day, we need 3 characters. We're going to control them all one at a time, so maybe that's what we do first. Or do we create an actor that we can just push around like a crate that we can derive from later? Or maybe we tidy up this backdrop here for a little bit. Right, there's always a lot to do. So let's delete that, delete that, delete that, delete that. That's fine for now. Now, to add C++ to an Unreal project, I want to do that pretty much straight away. I think I just go new C++ class. And let's make it descend from actor. We'll just call it, like, this is just to get the C++ generated. I probably shouldn't even bother until I've got one that I want to make. In fact, let's not bother with that right now. I'm so used to having the IDE open while I'm working in Unreal as well. So we're gonna call this Pirates Adrift. This is where all our content is gonna go. At some point we will have deleted all of these and we'll have migrated everything into here. For now, if we say gameplay actors, or just call it gameplay, and in here we're going to go add new blueprint class, descends from actor, and this one here is going to be our, I wonder what the most appropriate name for this is. This is going to be the parent for all of our in-world interactable. So this is going to be the parent of everything that we can push and pull and pick up and throw and damage, like a crate, barrel, cherry bomb, that kind of thing. So what if we just call this like gameplay actor, really? Level object. No, it's not really descriptive enough. I do tend to name things with much longer names than most people do. Like I have no trouble having like a 6-word variable name if it tells me exactly what it does and what it's for. But on the flip side of that coin, I do spend too much time naming things. We can change it after the fact. All right, so this thing is just straight up gonna have health. And that can be a float. Or maybe we really simplify and just make it an integer. Yeah, like bugger damage calculations and stuff. Just everything can do 1 damage or 2 damage or whatever, and your standard object can have 4 health. But really scope it down. Ordinarily, I do health would be a factor of 100, and everything does some calculation of damage. Like, you know, this thing does 7.3 damage based on some calculation. But I think we're going to dramatically simplify that in this case. I think we're just going to say, okay, your standard object has 4 health. And then your standard thing does 1 damage or 2 damage or whatever, and an explosion does 4 damage. Yeah, I like that. A default health will make 4. Now the default scene root, we want to give it a mesh with physics, I believe. Do we want all of these to have physics? And then yeah, you can toggle it off and on after you spawn it. That should be fine. So our default scene root, we're going to make a static mesh actor. A static mesh component, sorry. Pop that on there. Give it a default. Do we have like a cube? There is a cube in the starter content. So our static mesh, we're going to default to physics on. Now, this is a 2D side scroller. Do I need to manually constrain everything in the what, X and Z axes? So constrain everything along the, along the X axis, sorry. So that everything's in the Z and Y plane, or is that part of this template for us? You can go up there somewhere. Stop. What are you doing? Put one of them in the world, that's what. Does the cube even come with collisions? It does. Okay, and pushing it's a little bit tedious, but that's fine. And it does appear to be moving along the x-axis a little bit. So first thing we'll do is constrain that. Now there are a few ways I can think of to do that. We could like straight up constrain everything to be only on x equals 0 at all times. If we do that, that will make it a 2D side scroller. That will work. We have to do that for every actor. There's not going to be many. We'll do it for the parent actors at this level. That's not going to be many actors. Now that will make the game very rigid feeling, and that's fine. We are making a side scroller, but I am generally more inclined to put, say, a giant invisible wall on either side of the playfield. So one along here and one along here, just a big blocking volume, and then just saying, all right, well, all you physics stuff, you can bounce around any old which way you like. And that just creates a more natural feeling environment. So for example, if this crate was say half the size, and we are like pushing it around and stuff, excuse me, it's a side scroller, and we're pushing it around and stuff, so it can move from the foreground to the background a little bit, and I mean, like, that is out of play now. So what I would be doing is stopping it from doing that with a giant invisible wall, but letting it actually move back and forth a little bit. If we do that, so our characters will have an interaction space in front of them, like a trigger volume, and if it overlaps with something and they press a button, they'll pass that trigger input to the object in question. So if I make that trigger volume wider than the playfield, then anything that's in play should be able to be picked up, whether it's directly in front of them or not. Okay, I think we can do that. I would definitely prefer, so I feel like locking the x-axis down is probably the right way to do it, but I kind of want to go with the invisible walls way because I feel like it would give a better experience, but because I'm a bit contrarian as well. So let's do that. Let's just straight up say, okay, add a volume, a blocking volume, invisible volume used to block other actors. Yeah, okay, great. That's what I wanted. Okay. Now what? Can I see it? Excuse me. Visible in engine or anything? I really just want to see this. Show collision. Oh, okay, it's way up in the sky, so we can see it. No problem. Okay, so let's give it some size, and we'll move it back down there. It's way too far, I believe. Awesome. How tall is the level going to be? I think that's going to vary based on the level. I don't think we're going to have a standard height level. Some levels will be primarily left to right. Some will be big squares. So I don't think I'll write like a level blueprint or something to spawn these. I think I'll just drop one manually in each level and size it accordingly. Okay, that looks like it is probably perfectly in line there. Can I turn snapping up a little bit? Say snapping to 50 centimeters, and then Alt does duplicate, I think. And then is that roughly where I want the other edge? Seems to be. Yep. So now in theory, we should have... So that should no longer have the ability to leave the area. So if we... Is there a physics material in here somewhere? Can we make this bounce? See, that's what I would have been looking for before. I would have locked the position on the X. But I just feel like we'll have a nicer game with physics objects having a bit more freedom than that. That's all. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we do change it to lock it on the X-axis. But I feel like when I'm making a 2D side scroller, the character is only going to move, like, no X-axis for the character. But I feel like the world should have a little bit more give and take than just up and down and left and right. But that said, so now I shouldn't be able to push this. Oh, okay, I've screwed up. What have I done? I've made the bounds of my blocking volumes way too tight. We need to also hammer down how wide we want our gameplay field to be as well. Why can't I see the other one? Yeah, okay. So, I mean, I think that's probably working as intended, but we need to refine that quite a bit. Alright, so we now have... We have our level locked down. Do we want to make this much wider? We probably do. We want to make it at least wider than the character. I feel like it's about the same width as the character. Let's double the width of everything here. Don't forget, we will be replacing all these with art assets and stuff. So a lot of these will be things like walking paths or like boardwalks and stuff like that. They will have some depth to them. How wide is that? 2. 2 is probably fine. I'm hoping that they were a meter wide by default, so 2 meters wide is probably an ideal. Now in here, I just really wish I could see that a bit better. I probably could if I changed to ortho mode. Like, is that lining up perfectly? I feel like... God, it's so hard to tell. Yeah, so I can't really... So I'm having a bit of physics trouble there, where that's pressed up hard against the back wall and I can't run past it because of that. But if I give it much more freedom than that, then it'll be silly when he's picking up objects that are just in the background. Although maybe that won't be silly. Just think on it for a minute. Let's dig in a little bit to the template stuff and see what we're looking at for the character. Because at the end of the day, we need 3 characters that we can control one at a time. So what I'll need to do is spawn in 3 characters from separate templates, from separate sources, and then I'll need to possess them or choose which to possess. So the possession, I'll need some code that's running in every level, no matter what. So in Unreal, I think you would do that with some sort of game mode, game instance. UE4 game mode versus game state, game mode versus game instance. So what I want is a piece of code that I'm going to have running pretty much at all times during gameplay. That I don't have to put into each level. I'd like just to have a piece of code that is automatically running in each level. What? Which one? Where would be the best to store? Game mode you have, right, it exists only on the server. This is network. I don't really, not really dealing with network in this project. Game mode is the actor who owns and controls all of your rules, which your game needs. Okay, but so it is probably the game mode that I want. Game state, simplified actor, replicate to every client, don't care about that. Application, Unreal Engine's networking, game state, replicate variables, don't really care. Game instance is actually your game itself. Game instance is persistent actor which will be created when you first start the game and will be there as long as your game runs. No matter if you're changing levels or players disconnecting from servers, etc. Used for many court cases like logging into an account, yep. Last played match, yep. It is probably that. So the game instance, I imagine, is there one already here in the project? It doesn't look like it. All right, let's make our own. Let's make our own empty. Let's make our own empty game instance and see what we can learn. Okay. Swear there's a way here to just type what I'm looking for. High-level manager object for an instance of the running game spawned at game creation and not destroyed until the game instance is shut down. Running as a standalone game, there will be one of these. We're making a single-player game. That's probably fine. If it's the wrong spot, we'll fix it later. First and foremost, can I access input directly here? So if we set up some input on our controller and we say L and R switch between characters, and then on the keyboard, let's say Q and E switch between characters for the time being. So let's set up some input. Project settings. Input. What do we have here? We're looking for an action mapping, and we're going to say switch character left. And we're going to add gamepad, left bumper, left shoulder. All right, and we're going to add a key, and that's going to be key Q. Q. Okay, and we're going to do the opposite of that. We're going to say switch character right. That's going to be gamepad shoulder right, and then key E. I really wish these had the word key in them so that I could filter all of that other stuff out, because everything has the letter E in it. Okay. And now in my game instance, can I detect input? Input event. Is there like an on input? This is where the Dunning-Kruger effect comes in. I have done this like a dozen times. I have no idea what I'm doing. Unreal game instance input. I don't think that's possible. No built-in way to enable player input on that object. It's probably fair enough if it exists outside of like the player controller sort of space. I can understand that. It's not an actor, doesn't derive from an actor. It cannot accept components like your input component, therefore it can't handle player input. Yeah, okay, but what I want is to move some of the input to a higher level than the players. Like, I don't want each character to just take input and set the next character, although maybe I do. Maybe I just say on each character, like give each one 2 variables, next character, last character. But that just doesn't seem like the right way to do it. Just doesn't seem like the right way to do it. What does this do? No, that's not what I wanted. So what does this do then? Nothing. I know for a fact that I could just put that input right on this character and store a reference to the next character on each character. But I feel like that's not the right way to do it. Maybe that is what we'll do. Alright, so if we now create our own character not from scratch, we'll copy this one. So if I right click him and go duplicate, and I'll say, let's just call them character 1, 2, and 3, right? And we'll move him into our gameplay section. So there's a lot of shared functionality that these characters are going to have. But each one's also going to be very distinctly different. So we do need like a parent one, and then we need 3 children ones. But the parent one can be super generic. So let's call it BP Pirate Character. And that character is going to be like our central character that we override with the other characters. I'm assuming that I can do that with some ease. So now if I go create child blueprint class, that's what I was looking for, pirate character. And so now I don't need to name them, so to speak, but I need a way to identify them. And I think 1, 2, and 3 might be the right way, to be honest. We have 3 characters, and we don't really have a definition for them. We just know that there's 3 characters for sure. We can rename them later. So let's call them character 1, duplicate, character 2, and duplicate. So now we have 3 characters. If I go into character 1, can I easily change his material or something? Some way to identify him. Maybe we'll give him a different shaped head. Okay, so that's character 1. Character 2, open the blueprint editor, in the viewport, add a component, give him a cube shaped head, compile and save all. And then number 3, is there a cone or something, default shape? Maybe, maybe not. Cone, good. Okay, so I've now got 3 distinct characters. They're all descending from this one central character. That is disgusting, man. Oh, now I can't see chat. That silly little window's in front. Refresh that page. All right, so what was I saying? I've got 3 separate characters. They're all descended from this one character here. So this one character here is where I would put my health, where I would put my standard left-right movement sort of input controls. It's also where I'm going to put my L and R, and that means I need to have a variable that is a reference to the next character and a variable that is a reference to the previous character for each one. So let's just straight up do that, and like if it's not the right way to do it, we'll change it afterwards. So a new variable. So we're going to have health. We were saying before that health is going to be an integer, and our default amount of health will be 4. Okay, that's not super important, but while we're here, we may as well have done that. And then we're going to say, okay, previous character. And that is going to be something like an actor reference or something like that. An actor reference, probably. Which may be in an unloaded state, can be utilized asynchronously to load the object reference. So again, this is where that Dunning-Kruger effect comes in again. I know that you're not supposed to just use object references, because when you do that in Blueprint, it loads something about all of that entire actor into memory or something, just to load this character into memory. So I don't know the details about that. I just saw it in a talk, I think twice, watching Unreal seminars and stuff. So I'm going to go soft object reference, and I don't know what the implication is with that. I will learn that over time. So that said, we've got a soft actor reference to our previous character, and we're going to make one that's the next character. Okay. And then in our event graph, we're going to say on input, so input, action, switch character left. So this is where we need to start actually thinking. I effectively want to say, okay, get the controller, the player controller, and I think that's what's in charge of possession. Get the player controller and possess. So get the player controller, traverse that soft reference to the previous character, and then possess that character. So let's see if we can figure that out without having to Google anything. So when we press this, we're going to make sure that our previous character reference is valid. Can we do that? Is valid. And we say previous character. Oop, what is the go there? Type of previous character is not compatible with input object, which is an object reference. So what can I do with this? If I say actor, looks like we are treating it as an actor, right? Blueprint soft object reference actor. See what we can learn. Referencing actors in blueprints. Okay. No, I want to go further than that. The word soft appears on this page somewhere. Must be in this side menu. Yeah, okay. Tell you what, for now, I am just going to change these to a regular actor reference because I don't fully understand what I'm doing there. That's fine. Yeah. And I'm going to make a note in Notion here. Look into soft actor references versus hard actor references. Right, and so in my own time, I will do a little bit of Googling, and in the next stream, we'll either change that back or we won't, just depending on how we feel. So in here, actor, object reference. Right, so at this point, we probably already know that it's valid. Oh, well, we don't. We don't. So if this is valid, then we're going to possess it, more or less. So instead of an actor, I probably actually want to change these again. I probably want to set these up to be like, forget actor reference. I probably want to set this up to be a BP pirate character. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then let's see if we can figure out how to possess. How do we possess a character? If I just type possess on that, does that, no? What if I do a get character controller? Player controller, isn't it? Yeah. Let's try that. Get player controller. That has a possess, and the possess takes a pawn, and I believe our pawn is a character. I mean, our character is a pawn, I think. Okay, so let's see how we go there. So we're saying if that reference is valid, possess it, and if it's not, well, don't worry about it. And I'm imagining that when I possess a character, I am automatically unpossessing the old character. Let's see. Derived native class can override unpossessed to filter the specified pawn. When possessed, pawn changed. Blueprint class gets notified by the receive, possess, and on new pawn. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Still a little way off actually testing this. So let's now do switch character right. So switch character right. When it's pressed. If it's valid, we didn't see if anything was valid. We actually do want to do that. Okay. And we're saying possess the, not the previous character, we want the next character. Pop that in there. So now we're saying the opposite. If we press the other button, we want to possess that character. So now all three of those characters should have that functionality, but none of them really know what the next character is or what the previous character is. And I don't think I can set that just in the asset. I think I need to set that in the world. So what we'll do now is we'll drop them all in. If we drop them all into the world, and then in the world outliner there, we'll set up those references, and then later on we'll move that functionality into, say, the level blueprint or something to that effect. So that the idea being that when we're making a new level, we'll just drop. When we're making a new level, we'll just drop something in there that'll spawn all three of our characters. So for now, let's do exactly that. So I want to get rid of this default character. I actually will leave him there for the time being, just briefly. You can go over there. You can raise up just a touch. Same with you, same with you. Go up, go up. Okay, so now number 1. Where are we? The previous character from number 1 is going to be number 3, and the next character is going to be number 2. Number 2, the previous character is going to be number 1, and the next character is going to be number 3. And then, wait on, did I do that backwards? What have I done? Yep, character 2, the previous is number 1. Yep, okay. And then this one is character 3, so the previous is going to be number 2, and the next is going to be number 1. So now those guys are all set up. So what I'm expecting here when I hit play is that I am controlling one of them. I do need to, so I'm going to delete my regular dude. I'm going to pick character number 1 just for sanity's sake. Which one is that? This one here. And I'm going to say auto possess, if I can find that. Pretty sure that's in here somewhere. In the wrong search field in here. Auto possess player, cool. Player 0. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, my controller's turned off. That's okay, we set up E and E keys. Play. Alright, so we are controlling sphere head, and if we press Q, we are now controlling triangle head. Cool, and we press... Fantastic! That is so satisfying. Okay, alright. So when they're not possessed, I want them to turn into... not ragdolls, but I need them to be more physically enabled than that. Okay, so that's really cool. Again, like it's not the infrastructure we'll use in the final game, but it's really fun to prototype an idea and just get it working. And it's really cool to actually see it working. So I'm pretty sure I don't want to have 3 cameras. I think I want to have one camera that has its own brain and will sort of pan across when you change characters. So say they're in different parts of the level, when I switch character, I want the camera to sort of zoom across. The whole process takes like, I don't know, say a quarter second or less. Just a really quick pan, but I want it to be there nonetheless. So that might be the very next thing that we work on. That is really cool. Another thing that I need to do is make sure that they're not solid to each other. Or maybe we do want them to be solid to each other. Like, it could be interesting for the jumping character to be able to jump on one of the other characters, and maybe they'd react to that. So that's, like, that would be a really nice feature to have, but I wonder if I'm scoping up too much already. Do we want them to be solid to each other or not? If we did, that would create a bunch of interesting puzzle scenarios where this one needs to be on the left of that one, but he can't go through him. And he can't jump. So, dunno, but I feel like that could feel really clunky as well. Like, I feel like that could be frustrating, just being like, okay, I just need to move this guy like 10 feet. Or having to restart a level because this guy walked off an edge and is now in a spot where he can't get to the other side of that guy. That's probably no fun. So maybe we don't want them to be solid to each other. We want them to be able to move through each other. I definitely don't like the hard cuts that the camera does. I might see if we can do that now. So at the moment, each one of these has a camera of its own. And the spring arm, I don't think we need to have that really, because the Well, maybe we do. Like, we're not making a 3D game. Like, it really is a 2D game. The camera only exists on this one plane. It doesn't zoom in or out or anything like that. It just pans in a plane. So maybe we do make like a camera actor. We put the camera and the spring arm. Well, the camera's probably got this functionality built in, and I just don't know enough about it. I wonder if the camera has like a target, or if I can retarget a spring arm, maybe. The way that I would do this with the knowledge that I've currently got is probably not the right way to do it. But what I would do is have an actor that it would have a spring arm on it. So you would have an actor that has a spring arm. They would totally ignore collisions altogether. And then when you switch characters, so one camera attached to a spring arm attached to an invisible actor, and when you switch cameras, the position of that initial visible actor would lerp over to the character you're looking at. And I imagine that would create a very smooth transition, but at the cost. At what cost? No real cost, really, that I can think of. So when we switch characters, we probably should tell the level blueprint about that, so that everything else in the level can also check to see what character is currently being controlled. I reckon. Or is that not even useful? Let's do that. Let's on switch character. This is in our parent class. So we're going to say on switch character, tell the level blueprint. So somewhere in here there's a level blueprint. Oh, but each level will have a different level blueprint. I need to see what the life cycle of a game mode is, maybe. Actually, no, it's the game instance. It really is. It's the game instance that does this, because this is information that I want to travel across between levels. So if we go back to our game instance, and in here we put a variable that is just currently controlled character, and should we give that just an integer or the character reference? Probably don't need it to be an actual reference. We probably just need it to be an integer. For now, let's make it a reference. Ugh. Okay, and we'll set that to visible. So in here, we're going to say get the game instance, if that's even possible. Is that even possible? It is. No, it is not. Is it? Because there is only one instance of the game instance as a singleton. I don't have to get it from somewhere. I can just access it and set things on it directly. That's how I understand what just happened there. I don't fully understand it, but we'll see if it works. We'll see if it works, and we'll put it in my quick notes here. So look into game instance for life cycle. So in theory, we're setting the current game instance. Oop, what are we saying? Okay. How do I get the current game instance then? Can I just do that? Can I just type get game instance? Did I not try that? Get game instance. Okay, cool. Excuse me, what's that message say? Game instance object reference is not compatible with BP Pirates game instance object, so that's fine. We've got to do a cast. BP Pirates game instance. And only if the cast succeeded. Cool. Okay, so we need to copy and paste those. Pop that in there. That one up there. Okay, compile, save. Awesome. Figuring stuff out. Alright, let's tidy this up a little bit now. Makes me nervous having it just go in every single direction like that. Player control, we only use that once. You can stay where you are. Previous character, I don't think there's a performance hit to having 3 different getters instead of one split 3 different ways. I don't mind stretching things out in the name of readability. I don't think we've technically got unlimited space here, but we've got unlimited space here. Okay, life's good. Let's do the same thing over here. Put that about there on that line, roughly. That one's about there. They don't have to be exactly the same, I just like them to be close enough. Set you over there. You're about there. Copy, paste, paste. I must say that 100 times a day at work. Copy, paste, paste. See that one. Awesome. Much, much, much better. So now, all that code does is set a reference to that in our game instance. So our game instance just happens to know what character we're controlling. And maybe it should be an integer because that would carry across between levels, whereas a reference to the character probably won't. I imagine I'm going to destroy them and reload them for every level. I'm going to make a note of that over in here in the idea pad. And I'd usually put this at the top. Quick to do. Change game instance current character from reference to integer research first. Okay. So now in this class here we've got a reference to our currently controlled character. What was I going to do with that? I was going to use that to have the camera follow things around. So I should probably actually also just emit an event, yeah? So when this happens, say fire off a new character event and then subscribe to that. Oh, but there's no, as far as I know, there's no global event bus. So but I could cheat something like that. I could put a function on the game instance, now that I've got access to it. I could put a function in here that just fires an event. And then anything that cares about character changes can just subscribe to the game instance. That's probably the way to do it. That's probably the way to do it. Okay, so there's a few things that we need to do then. Our currently controlled character is going to actually change to an integer. Okay, that's all well and good. That's fine. We are going to have an array of references. So this is going to be our character references. Okay, and that is going to be an array of actors. Can I do that? Actor, whoop, that's not what I wanted to do. Actor, object reference, array. Okay. So now we've got an array there. That array is visible to everything in our central character there. So each one of these is going to have just a constant. So this guy's always going to be number 1. That's always going to be number 2. That's always going to be number 3. So our variables, I guess they're going to be 0, 1, and 2. Totally. Character index, that is going to be of type integer. Can I make this constant? It doesn't matter. If I treat it right, it doesn't need to be constant. So character index, now all 3 of these will have that. I know that just put up some red bars. That's because we're in the middle of implementing this. So down here in the variables section, how do I access the parent variables? On the right, character index 0. Character index 1. This might not be the right way to do this. Character index 2. Okay, so now in here, what we're doing, instead of setting it as our previous character, we're setting that to our previous character get. What did I just call that? Character index. I should probably name that pirate index just so that I know in 6 months' time that I created that. Otherwise I will forget that and I'll just think it's part of the engine and I won't understand it. I'll probably get it confused with player controller indexes. Yeah, I'd better actually rename that. That's probably important. Let's call it pirate character index. Okay. Okay, pirate character index, which means I need to make the exact same changes down here. Move along. Pirate character index, delete you. You can come back in a little bit. Life's good. So now we are setting an integer as an index in our game instance. Currently controlled character. Did say this earlier, but I tend to give things silly long names so that I can understand them better in the future. Because my memory is shocking, so the more information I can fit into the name of something, the less I have to think about it later. and go, what was that? Was that something? Well, yeah. Okay, so now each player character has an index. It's baked into its class. They're effectively constant. I think technically we could change that if we wanted to, but they're constant. And our game instance knows about that. And each one of these, so on spawn, I want each one of these to register its character index into register a reference to itself in the game instance's character index array slot. If that makes sense. So I need to throw in like a begin play or something here somewhere. Yeah, begin play. I don't think that was already in here somewhere. And we're going to say get game instance. And on that game instance, we're going to say set. How do arrays work in Blueprint? I wonder if I get the array and then set something in it, does that, am I just getting a copy of the array or am I getting a reference to the array? I wonder what I'm supposed to do there. Well, let's just try it and see what happens, because we'll learn quick enough if it doesn't work. Get character something or other. What was it? What did we call it? Get character array from string. What did we call it? Character references. Doesn't straight up tell me just here in a note or anything. Nope. You can get lost. That's fine, we need to cast that. I always forget that. Cast to BP game instance something or other. There it is. Alright, and so we cast to that, we get our array. I still have no idea whether that's a copy or a reference, but let's assume it's a reference and we'll say set. So like a set element, add element, add set at. Let's say context sensitive, nothing. Set array element. That sounds about right. Given an array index. Hey, how are you? Skittles. I have been fantastic lately. It's a good, well, I don't want to sound like I'm rubbing other people's noses in it, but it's a good time to be alive. As much as the world has gone to hell. This has probably been the best year of my life. So how have things been going for you? Well, I hope. So on begin play, we're going to get the instance. We're going to set so the index is going to be our character index, wherever that is, this one. That's our constant. It has been a while. It's been a hot minute. It's been a couple of years since I've streamed. Man, it's I just fell off the face of the planet around 2018, and just like I stopped tweeting, I stopped streaming, I stopped even playing games. Like I just basically stopped doing everything. I just pared down to the bare necessities of life and kept my head down and worked hard and everything came good. Yeah, I remember. I've got you on Steam. Oh man, Mindspark 2011 or so, something like that. It has just been so long. We started up another Minecraft server, but we didn't really advertise it anywhere. It is in the description below the channel there. It's called Forestcraft. We put a lot of effort into setting up the spawn and everything, but then we just never like it is running, and it gets 1 or 2 people a week playing on it, but we never advertised it anywhere. So if you're still playing Minecraft at all, you're welcome to come hang out. It's tied to a Discord channel that we do actually hang out in and do chat in. It's probably been running for 6 or 8 months or something now. It is just more or less just vanilla. There's no ranks or anything like that. It's just vanilla with self-land protection stuff. Just convenience stuff so that you can go and play survival and not have to worry about what other people are doing unless you want to. Yeah, I mean, no pressure, of course, but you're welcome to come play. It's there if you want to. Man, that has been a long time. It's a whole different world now. So a pirate character index is a constant, and we're setting that. So we're setting that slot to be this current character. So like self, we're setting that to be self, right? Yeah. Why wouldn't we want that? Yeah. Okay. So in the beginning, we set up our references as the characters are spawned. When we switch to a different character, we just set that value directly. I kind of want to call a function on the game index and pass that into it, so that game instance, so that from here I can just dispatch an event. Delete that. I can. Event dispatcher. So new event dispatcher on character changed. Let's go a little bit deeper than that. On controlled. Uncontrolled character changed, right? I think that's what I want. I think I want that way around. I think the dispatcher is the one that sends out the message. That makes sense as it's named. So there shouldn't be any implementation details. So why does it have a graph? Yeah, okay. I can give it an input, hey. So no, I don't want to give it an input. Yes, I do. New pirate character index. Default value, it doesn't really matter. Integer. Sorry, default value can be 0, passed by reference, doesn't matter, it's an integer. Compile, save. So now from our event graph, we want to add a function. I'm going to call that set new controlled pirate character. I feel like my naming's getting a little bit inconsistent, but we'll tidy that up over time. And that doesn't need input. And that input is going to be just an integer. Yeah, that is going to be new pirate character index. Okay, and when that happens, I'm just going to call the event on controlled. So call on controlled character something or other. That's the one I'm after. Okay, so now I think, and I have a very limited understanding of this, but I think when we call this function, it's going to spit that out through an event. We should actually probably also stick that in there. Okay, so We go set new controlled character, we keep the index and we throw that out for everyone else to read from if they want. And then our camera, our single camera component actor thing would subscribe to that event. And when you change character, he would lerp his position over to, and I think the camera might have the lerping built in, so he would probably teleport to the character in question. And then the camera would be set to lerp. So right now, straight away, we can probably just delete this. Yeah, we don't need that. Okay. So we're setting that. All right, so when we set that, we're going to fire that event off. Are we actually setting that yet? No, I don't think we are. I knew I was forgetting something. Just had to stop and step through it to remember what it was. So here, instead of just setting the value, I want to call that function, which I will do from this bit. Set new controlled pirate character. Cool. And obviously we want to do the same thing here. Set new controlled pirate character. Okay. So now each one of those should store that in there, and let's just also throw in here. We throw in here a print string. Can we even do that from the game instance? Looks like we can. So let's go print string. Straighten this out a little bit. It's unnecessary, but I don't like when things are a big mess. I do tend to just sort of spew it all out onto the page and then straighten it up afterwards, but I like to keep it neat and tidy overall. So we're calling that function now. So now we need to create our camera actor thing, right? Oh man, I don't even know how possession works with those. What happens right now if I possess? If I add a single camera to the scene, do I just use that by default? Let's experiment a little. I just don't know this, so if I add a camera, let's pop that in, spin it around. Okay, and so that's got no logic to it whatsoever. I don't automatically use it, so activation, auto activate, scene component. Okay, tell me more. Whether the component is activated at creation or must be explicitly activated. Whether the component is activated at creation or must be explicitly activated. I mean, whatever. Camera component. Yeah, okay. Wait on, there's more pages. What do we got here? Auto activate. Alright, it's a learning process. We'll figure it out. For now, I'm going to delete that one because we're going to make an actual camera actor thing. So we're just going to straight up make it an actor. We're going to go BP camera actor. Okay, And I mean, Unreal's probably got this built in. I haven't found the option, but I imagine I can just tell the camera, hey, focus on this instead. But the camera actor, just go in here. I know that I want the x-axis. I think I want x positive. I'm not 100% sure. If I go... So default scene root can just be an empty object. Hopefully I get to keep the default scene root if I add a spring arm to it. I've never done that before. I've always, replace the default scene root because I've always wanted a static mesh or something there. I don't really make invisible actors all that often. Add component, camera. I believe that's how all that works. I think. Why can't I see my spring arm now? I probably got this going all the wrong direction. X positive. I want to be looking at them from X positive. X positive. Yep, so that's fine. So I need to turn my camera around though, but I've got it right. Let's go spring arm length and maybe make that a bit longer. Let's just say 1200 for now. Okay, I see what I'm doing. I need to reset that. And rotate that around. And I guess rotate that around. And then maybe rotate that upwards just a touch. Maybe that's probably way too far up. All right, something like that. So now what I really need to do is put this in the game and make it use it somehow. Like, how am I going to tell it that, hey, this is the camera that I want you to use? Using a static camera, switching between multiple fixed cameras. Okay, open level blueprint. On actor begin overlap, yeah. Set view target with blend. That will sort of fade between them, I imagine. Wonder if I really just need to give each one set view target with blend. Wonder if I do just give each one an actor, a camera. So in this example, they are 3 separate cameras and they're blending between them. We actually just see what this example does. Yeah, I don't really see much blending going on. Wonder if it'll blend the location or if it's... I bet it's not. Level blueprint, reference to camera actor, begin play, set view target with blend. Yeah, okay. Alright, let's give it a go. I wonder if I can do that from the game instance or if I have to do that. I have to do that from the level blueprint, I bet. Because the game instance exists at times when the cameras do not. Can I get a player controller from here? No. So that does have to be the level blueprint. Which means that I will have to do this in every level, I suppose. Unless I have some sort of gameplay component. Yeah, like the game mode or something. I'll have to learn a little bit more about the life cycles and stuff there. Get camera Already forgot my example. Set view target with blend. So begin play. We're going to say set view target with blend. No, we're not apparently. Okay. Context sensitive. Set view target. Cool. All right, now what are we looking at? Where's that example gone again? View target with blend. The target is the player controller. We can handle that. And the new target is the camera actor itself. We can handle that. All right, so the target is going to be the player controller. Can we just get player controller? We can. And then the view target is going to be the camera, which select asset, hey? I mean, this doesn't even need to have a default location. I can just spawn it when I start the level. Yeah, I reckon I can do that. So if I'm in the level blueprint here and I say, okay, begin play, spawn me a camera actor, which I imagine I do with the spawn actor from class, sounds about right. The class being BP camera actor. I don't think I need to set any of this other stuff. Okay. And then this one wants to become that, right? Except I want it specifically to be the camera, I think. I don't think I need it. I don't think I want it to be the base actor. We'll just try that and see what happens. Yeah, what's wrong? Spawn transform is invalid. How about just world transform 0? Is there something that I could do for that? Make transform 0. That'll do. Won't it? Yeah, that'll do. So I appear to be looking out from the view at 0, 0, 0, 0. I believe that's what I want. So let's give it a Z value of, say, 3 meters. 3 meters. So we should be straight up in the air. We're facing the wrong way. That's okay, we're allowed to. For now, at least. Are we facing the wrong way? No, we're not. We're facing the right way. We're just behind everything. All right, so now I think I want to put some logic in there to make that camera actor. So first things first, ignore all collisions no matter what. Camera collision, don't do the collision test. Yeah, the rest is fine probably for now. Absolutely enable camera lag. We'll leave it on defaults for now and we'll tweak it later. Okay. I don't think I'll have to do anything with collisions in here. Okay, compile. So now I need some logic in here to make it effectively move the transform of the parent actor, this actor here, to the same as the transform of the currently active player character. So how do I bind to an event? So if I just say bind on character on something, case sensitive, if I get rid of that, on sometimes it would be quicker to just see what my event's called. Uncontrolled character changed. Uncontrolled character changed. Uncontrolled character changed. There it is. Am I in the right file? I am. I don't want to call it, I want to bind to it. Uncontrolled character changed. Okay. Now the target is going to be get game instance, I believe. Outside. Okay. Just one moment. I'm going to let my dog outside. Okay. So what is this now? Oh, I need to cast it again. I forget that every single time. Cast to BP pirate game instance. I've done that, I think, 4 out of 4 times so far. Alright, so we're saying if we're a pirate game, which what other kind of game would we be playing? If we're a pirate game, we're gonna bind to this event, and on this particular event we want to for now let's just hard set our position. So let's set actor location. Yeah. How does this work? Gotta say, I don't understand it. Google it. UE4 blueprint bind event. That'll tell me. Yeah. Okay. That doesn't tell me anything. What am I binding to the event? Where do I put the code that I want to do in response to an event? Calling event dispatchers. Yeah, but how do I respond to it? Just like that. Add custom event for dispatcher. Thank you. That's all I needed to know. Add custom event for dispatcher. Just add custom event. Let's say we'll just call this on controlled character changed. And we might even go a little bit more in detail than that, and we'll say on game instance control character changed, right? Pop that in there. And we've got our new index. Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, fantastic. So first thing we're going to do is print a string. And we're going to say this comes from the level blueprint. Hello from level blueprint. Just as a sort of verification that this is indeed happening. And we're going to set the location of ourself. So we're going to get, oh boy, so many layers. after this, we are going to get the what's the array called? Get the pirate characters. Next character, pirate character. Character references. I should probably change that to pirate character references. Okay, so we're going to do that. And we're going to go get. I think that's how we do this. Context sensitive on this one. I don't want to get a copy. I don't want to duplicate, like copy an entire. That doesn't sound right. I'm gonna add that to my notes too. If I get a copy of an array element that is an actor object reference, does it copy the object or just the reference? So again, that's just stuff that I'm going to Google in my own time, off stream. Stuff that I really should know, but I don't. So this one is going to be in here. And I'll straighten all this out in a moment. I do like to keep them all nice and neat and tidy. So now in theory, this here should be a, I mean, it says actor object reference. I wonder if I can actually change that right up the root. Change that here from actor. I probably can, yeah? Pirate character. So now I don't have to cast that ever again. Hopefully that doesn't break anything I've already made, but I don't think anything's... I think everything's generic enough that it shouldn't matter. Okay, so where was I just working? On the example map. So what we're saying is, no, this is not right. In play, set current view, yeah. Okay, so when we switch characters, we're going to fire this event. Then it's going to set the actor location to match. So the target is going to be self, and then we're going to go get actor location. And that's going to pump into there. And there, I think we're done. We don't have collision on this object. It shouldn't matter about any of those, but we might set it up to teleport at some point. Sure, whatever. Well, I changed that and I didn't even need to for this, but that's fine. Alright, now we need to check all these other ones, make sure they're not all red and broken. Save, compile. Yep, I knew something was going to break. Where's that? That's the same bit. Excuse me? Yeah, who do you think you are, broken node? Alright, so pop that up there and that up there. So straighten this out a little bit. Compile, save, anything else that might be broken, compile. So that's everything we've worked on, I think, for this entire day so far. So there's still another step yet. I might straighten this out. Straighten those out. Brilliant. All right. What's next? There is still something left to do. Setting the location of the camera actor, the actor with the camera associated with it. We're setting that to the new thing when we bind a controller. I don't think our game instance is currently being spawned at all yet. So that's what we need to do. So let's take a look and see what we've got by way of game mode. Does that specify the game instance? Does not look like it. So maybe that's got to be in the project settings directly. Maps and modes. Game instance, here we go. Pirate game instance, that should do. So now if I hit save all and we press play and see if anything blows up. So if this works just 100% as intended, we'll probably play with it for 5 minutes and then we might end the stream there. So that straight up didn't work. So that's all right. Let's see what we can figure out. So we got nothing printed to the screen. What did happen? Where are we looking? We're just sort of sitting in the middle of a brick. Are we not spawning our thing perhaps? No, we are, because we're possessing the camera just fine. What are we missing? So camera actor, no, level blueprint. There. Let's just start it out at, say, 1200 that direction as well and see what happens. Okay, so we can see them. They are still being controlled. We are not following them. But we haven't told it to follow them. What happens if we switch characters? Yeah, okay. So switching characters is working. That's so weird. I'm not 100% sure what's happening here. Let's figure this out. So when we switch to a different character, our gameplay instance knows, and it says, all right, I'm going to just tell anyone who cares that we've changed the character we're controlling. That's fine. And then we're saying in our camera actor, we're subscribed to the event, and we know that this is spawned. For some reason I've got hello from level blueprint, but really this is from the camera actor dude. Okay. We're saying, all right, well, when that happens, and we are getting this printed to the screen, so we know that's working. I wonder if we're not getting the location. No, we are absolutely moving. We are absolutely moving at the time. And we're only moving to the location. And the spring arm, so what are we moving? We're moving the base camera actor, right? Yeah, so we're moving that. But when we do that, so we should be moving this little sphere here, and then we should be maintaining a distance from it in the positive X direction, looking back at it. But that's not happening. The spring arm is being set to 0 length. I have disabled do the collision test. That would make sense if the spring arm was, say, if we were teleporting this thing to inside another object, and then the spring arm was saying, "Hey, I'm colliding with something here, and I can't go out," and so that way we get like a 0-length spring arm. So I can sort of see how that works. But so to test that, what we'll do is we'll break this. How do I do that? Let's split struct pin, split struct pin, and we're going to say just set the Y and the X to whatever they are, and it shouldn't follow the character around. We haven't programmed that yet. I was wrong in thinking that. And then we'll just set it to an X of 1,000, so it's nowhere near the characters. Interesting. Interesting. Why isn't that working? So when we switch, this does absolutely teleport. This happens. Just for what it's worth, let's disable the collisions on these, but I don't believe that's our problem, and even if it was, we would need to come up with a different solution. Collision. Swear. Oh, I was on the wrong thing. Okay. Collision. So this is just on the heads themselves. Mr. Square Peg, how are you? I remember you from last time I was streaming. How's life? Yeah, me too. Life's good. Well, we basically just gone first person on this. Attach spring arm to character Unreal. Let's see what I'm missing. So at the moment I'm not attaching a spring arm at all, but this is barely readable. Attach component to component. So getting the spring arm and we're attaching it to attach actor to component. And what is the parent in this case, in the example? A spring arm. Visible actor. I don't think that's what I want. So first thing I want to do is just get the spring arm and say, all right, what do I have under attach? Attaches the root component of this actor to the supplied component, optionally at a named socket. Not valid to call this on components that are not registered. Yeah, that might be what I want. So forget actor location. The target is going to be self. I want this default scene route to be the target, and then the parent is going to be what we attach it to, which is going to be this. What? Scene component object reference. Wait on. Attach actor to actor. That's even better again. So attach myself to that. Right? Location, snap to target. Rotation is going to be keep my world rotation, my regular world rotation. Scale for now we'll just ignore because we don't really play with scale at all. Okay. Let's retire that for now. World simulated bodies. Nah. Let's see what that does. Still working exactly as expected, which is to say it's not really working. I think I know what's happening. Maybe. No, I don't. I don't know what's happening. But time is getting away from me. Right, we will solve this problem, but I want to say not tonight. I think for the night we're pretty much done. So today we actually got a lot done. Today we decided which engine to use, and we landed on Unreal, and we started our project and started prototyping. And we got a system in place where we can switch between characters at the push of a button on a controller and a keyboard. And then we started making it more complex. So that's great. So the very next thing we need to do is sort out this camera thing, so that what I want is to have one camera, and when I switch characters, that camera is going to lerp across to look at the character I've got. So at the moment, these guys are all standing next to each other, but they'll be spread all throughout the level in different places. And I want to press the button and have the camera just sort of zoom across to the one that we're controlling now, in like a fraction of a second, like say a quarter second or less, whatever feels natural. I feel like it's probably going to be a pretty simple solution once I figure it out. And maybe at some point it'll just come to me during the night, or maybe it won't, and maybe I'll stream tomorrow. At this point, I intend to, but after I've been at work all day, it's hard to say what I want to do if it's not on the day. So either way, I'll definitely be streaming at some point on the weekend, and I intend to stream pretty much every day in the afternoons about this time of day. So thanks for joining me. I archive all of these streams over on YouTube. This is only day 3, I believe, of this project. So the last 2 streams, we spent the entire time. The first time we talked about the idea for about an hour, and then the second stream we did up our just super quick, super rough sort of prototype design document in here, where we just laid out a bunch of stuff and some real basic structure, and just went, yep, okay, this is what we're doing. And then today we talked a little bit about the technology we want to use, and then we just jumped right in. So again, this is only day 3. We're looking to have this game at final release stage. We're aiming for that 6-month goal, but either way, we're going to get there. Maybe not within 6 months, but we're going to release this game. And with that, I will leave you guys here. Have a good night, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.